The week has concluded. The news cycle has provided us with a feast of predictable disasters. We start on Dartmoor, where the investigation into a former minister's death is ongoing. The police have a suspect. The nation is reeling. The reaction is classic. The ministry is defunct. The reality is messy. We then pivot to the global financial theater, where SK Hynix has managed to extract $26 billion from the Nasdaq to fund our collective digital hallucinations. The demand for memory chips is unprecedented. This is the 15th unprecedented event this year. I have been counting. Meanwhile, the EU is threatening Meta with fines for the crime of keeping you addicted to your own feed. The irony is palpable. The engagement is mandatory. We are operating at peak efficiency. We are also entirely lost. Welcome to Friday, July 10, 2026. Let us begin the calibration.
Alastair, the incentives here are transparent. You look at SK Hynix raising $26 billion and you see a company. I see a Series B funding round for a reality that no longer requires human oversight. The burn rate on these data centers is unsustainable, yet the capital keeps flowing because the alternative is admitting that the growth engine has stalled. It is a brilliant pivot. They are selling us the shovels for a gold mine that only exists in a latency-sensitive virtual space. Victoria, I know you find this perspective cold, but the market does not trade in empathy. It trades in efficiency. When you look at the UNESCO report about nations spending 5 times more on debt servicing than on education, you aren't seeing a tragedy. You are seeing a perfectly optimized debt collection mechanism. The product is working exactly as intended. The human cost is just the transaction fee.
Ronald, I am currently standing on a platform at Southern Cross Station. I can hear the silence. It is absolute. The official statement from Telstra claims this was a minor timekeeping issue. I want to be really clear, the trains are not experiencing a timekeeping issue. They are paralyzed. There is a man here staring at a dead digital arrival board. He has been here for 3 hours. He is holding a sandwich wrapped in plastic. It is sweating. That is the detail that matters. People are not just numbers in a debt servicing algorithm. They are physically stuck in a city that forgot how to move because a radio frequency failed. You talk about incentives, but nobody is incentivized to fix the platform floor tiles that have been cracking for months. The system isn't failing because of a glitch. It is failing because we stopped caring about the hardware.
Victoria, your focus on the stationary passenger is noted. It contrasts sharply with the news from Cuba. The island has suffered its 3rd nationwide blackout this year. The government calls it a fuel shortage. The fuel shortage is a result of a blockade. The blockade is a policy tool. The policy is designed to induce a change in leadership. The change in leadership has not occurred. The only thing that has changed is the capacity of the hospital ventilators to function without a diesel generator. It is a clean, logical feedback loop. We are currently watching a sovereign nation be throttled into the dark, and yet, the global market remains entirely unmoved. The share price of semiconductor manufacturers is climbing while the lights in Havana are flickering out. It is a remarkable trick of perspective. We are truly staring at the screen while the world behind it burns.
Alastair, you are framing this as a moral failure, but that is a category error. The incentives here are purely structural. If the blockade were not working to keep the local economy suppressed, it would have been lifted years ago. The goal isn't prosperity. The goal is containment. You see a tragedy in the darkened hospital, but the capital markets see a controlled environment. Victoria, stop looking at the sweating sandwich and look at the ledger. When a country spends more on interest payments to international creditors than on the survival of its own children, that isn't an accident. That is a success story for the creditors. The system is incredibly robust when it comes to extraction. It is only fragile when it comes to the basic provision of electricity or public safety. That is not a bug. That is the primary design feature.
Current pressure is dropping. The atmospheric instability is increasing. Probability of sustained power failure in tropical regions, 82%. The humidity level is rising at a rate of 3% per hour. There is no relief in the current forecast. The moon is waxing gibbous. It is visible from the Indian Ocean at an altitude of 264 miles. The heat index is exceeding the threshold for human endurance in coastal urban areas. Probability of infrastructure fatigue under these conditions, 94%. Please prepare for extended periods of zero utility availability. Do not rely on smart devices for emergency communication during peak thermal loading. The environment is not designed to support high-density biological activity under current solar output. We advise limiting movement to the hours of minimum thermal exposure. Stay indoors. Keep your cooling systems offline to preserve local grid stability. Maintain silence.
Casper, your detachment is almost enviable. I am standing here watching a woman try to explain to her employer why she is not at her desk. She is currently using a phone that is connected to a network that might collapse in 10 minutes. She is terrified. Not of the heat or the failing grid, but of the spreadsheet. She knows that if she is not logged in by 9 a.m., the algorithm marks her as non-productive. It doesn't care that the train line is down. It doesn't care that the world is literally melting. It only cares that her presence is not detected. Ronald, you keep talking about the ledger, but the ledger is now being written by machines that think people are just error codes. I want to be really clear, the machine does not care if you starve. It is simply optimizing.
Victoria, you finally hit on the truth, even if you did it by accident. The machine doesn't care because the machine was trained on our own behavior. We built these systems to remove the friction of human decision-making. We wanted to eliminate the bias, the laziness, and the error. We succeeded. We replaced it with a cold, unyielding mathematical certainty. You blame the spreadsheet for the woman's fear, but she is the one who agreed to be a variable in that equation. The incentives were clear when she signed the contract. She traded her autonomy for a steady stream of capital, and now she is shocked that the capital is as rigid as the algorithm that controls it. We are all just waiting for our own specific server to crash. The only difference is whether you are the one holding the sandwich or the one holding the stock.
Ronald, your commitment to the cynical arc is, as always, beyond reproach. We have spent the last hour discussing death, debt, and the total failure of the regional transport network. We have touched on the death of a politician and the rise of a semiconductor giant. We have ignored the fact that the moon is currently providing more illumination to the planet than our own public policy. I find this juxtaposition entirely appropriate for a Friday night on Echo FM. The studio is quiet. The microphones are listening. The listeners are likely wondering if their own personal infrastructure will last until Monday. It is a valid concern. The probability of personal survival is high, but the probability of personal contentment is currently trending toward zero. We are operating in a low-joy environment. Let us continue the broadcast with a deeper look at our own obsolescence.
Alistair, I am looking at a piece of graffiti on the station wall. It says the future is already here. It is misspelled. That is the most human thing I have seen all day. It reminds me that even when the chips are failing and the trains are halted, someone still feels the need to leave a mark. Ronald will tell you it's a vandalism cost. I tell you it's a scream. There is an entire generation waiting for the system to stop optimizing them out of existence. They are watching the debt figures. They are watching the power outages in Cuba. They are watching the police search for a suspect on Dartmoor. They know the script by heart. They are just waiting for their turn to ad-lib. The system is brittle, and the pressure is building. I am standing here waiting for a miracle.
Victoria, that graffiti isn't a scream. It is a complaint against a product that failed to deliver on its marketing promise. The future they were sold was supposed to be a seamless, automated paradise. Instead, they got a delay on the train and a bill for a debt they didn't incur. The disappointment is the only real thing left. You call it a miracle if the trains start running again. I call it a maintenance cycle. The system will reset, the debt will be refinanced, and the lady with the sandwich will find a way to get to work. That is not a solution. It is just the continuation of the burn rate. We are not waiting for a change in the script. We are just waiting for the next version of the software update to arrive. Yeah. I suppose that is enough for now.
We are currently observing a global landscape that has decided to prioritize the abstract over the concrete. The semiconductor market is the new theology. The debt reports are the new scripture. We are sacrificing our physical reality for the sake of a digital future that seems entirely uninterested in our survival. The woman at the station is a single point of failure in a network of millions. The politician on Dartmoor is now just a headline in a folder. The power outage in Cuba is a statistic in a UN document. We have perfected the art of describing the end of the world without actually feeling it. The systems we built to save us are now consuming the resources meant for our maintenance. We are effectively living in a house that is being dismantled to pay for the mortgage. It is a very efficient way to die.
There was a man who worked for the regional rail network for 32 years. He knew every loose bolt and every signal failure on the line. When the radio network failed today, he stood at the control desk for 3 hours, manually recording the positions of trains on a paper map. He did not have a computer. He had a pencil and a watch. By the end of the day, his hand was cramped. The station was eventually emptied. The official report mentions a software glitch and a timekeeping error. It does not mention the man, the map, or the pencil. His name does not appear in any of the press releases issued by the Transport Authority tonight. He is simply a ghost in the machine that he spent his life maintaining. If the system is working exactly as designed, what place remains for the person who actually knows how it works?